Questions are a very important part of English, but they are different in English than they are in Spanish. For example, what you do is important. This is a sentence, okay? What you do is important. If we want to transform the sentence into a question, and we do this, it's wrong. Yeah, but why? Very simple thing. Questions need a structure. And right now we're going to learn about the proper order of the words in a question. To formulate a correct question, we need a question word, an auxiliary verb, a subject, and an infinitive, which in this case is a verb. So let's go back to our first example. If we want to make a question, we have to do something like this. What, question word, do, auxiliary verb, you, subject, do. And this is our infinitive, our main verb on the question. What do you do? Question word, what, do, auxiliary verb, you, subject, in this case a pronoun, do, infinitive. Let's try another one. Let's make a question in simple present, for example. Where do you work? Now, this is a proper question because we have a question word, an auxiliary verb, a subject, and an infinitive verb. So this is a formula very easy to remember. You just need to remember this. Q, A, S, I. And everybody has seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame, so Quasimodo is a very nice way to remember it. Okay? You remember this word, you remember the correct order for words in questions. Let's make another example now. Now we're going to do some examples in past tense. So our auxiliary verb is going to be did, the past tense of do. Where did you go? It is the same structure. If we apply our formula Q, A, S, I, where is the question word, did is our auxiliary verb, you is the subject, and go is our infinitive. Let's do the same with the next two questions. What did you eat? So, what is going to be a question word, did is our auxiliary verb, you is the subject, and eat is the infinitive. And this is a question you're going to face multiple times in your life. Why didn't you call me? So, why in this case is a question word. Didn't, take notice, it's negative, but it's still using the place for the auxiliary verb. You is the subject, and call is going to be the infinitive. So, remember, Q-A-S-I is the right way to construct a question in present tense and in past tense. When we use the verb to be, we're going to have to make a small adjustment. There is a reason for this. To be doesn't work with infinitives. To work with the verb to be, we need to use nouns, or in this case, gerunds, ings. So our formula needs a small modification where question word is auxiliary verb, the verb to be, he, subject. So it's a shorter version of our QASI formula. In this case, what are you doing? So this is not an infinitive, but this is still an action. So in this case, we're going to use just a main verb or action. Okay? Very important. What do you do? What are you doing? So whenever we want to use an action with the verb to be, we have to change it into an ing verb. Okay? Right. But now take a look at this. Are you hungry? This is what we call a yes or no question, because the answer is yes or no. Are is the auxiliary verb to be, you is the subject, and hungry it's a different word from an infinitive. So remember that when we construct questions with to be, we don't always use a verb. We can use an adjective, we can use a noun, okay? And we can use an action in present continuous. Like any rule, we have exceptions. But it's not really difficult, okay? The exceptions are when the question word is also the subject of the phrase. So let's take a look at this question. Who works here? No auxiliary. Who is also the subject of the question. Why? I work here. So let's take a look at this. I work here. So this phrase is identical to that question, because I, a person, is also the subject of the question, who. And if we apply the formula after the subject, we have the infinitive. So in a way, it's consistent with the formula we saw before. Now, here, what happened? This is a very common question. What happened? What is the subject of a phrase? So then we have a verb in past tense. So this is the infinitive, well, in past tense mode. So that's why these questions don't follow the rule we saw before. Because who, in this case, is the subject of the question, and it's followed by the main verb of the phrase. Same happens with what. What, the action, the conflict, if you want to call it that way, is the subject of the phrase. Same thing. What happened to you? To you. To me. Okay? Who knows you? This is another example. And let's use a contrast here. Let's say, for example, that this is John. And this is you. Okay. John knows you. So in this case, John is the same as who. If you are the subject of the question, then the question is like this. Let's use our formula, shall we? Who do you know? You see the difference? In the first question, the subject is John. But in the second question, you are the subject. So who isn't the subject of this question, but who is the subject of this question? We have a formula which is QASI. Question word, auxiliary verb, subject, infinitive. For example, when do you watch TV? When is the question word, do is the auxiliary verb, you is the subject, watch is the infinitive verb, TV is an object. What food does Jenny like? What food in this case is the question word. As you can see, a question word is not only just one word. In this case, what food acts as a question word. Does is the auxiliary verb. Jenny, you see we can use names and not only pronouns. And like. So that's the infinitive. Do you live in Chile? This is a yes or no question. So we start with do as the auxiliary verb, you, subject, live, infinitive, in Chile, object of the phrase. Does he eat pizza? Does is the auxiliary verb, he is the subject, eat is the infinitive, and pizza, it's something very good to eat. And that's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Smooth Talkers online classes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.